Coming to you from the mountains and the plain, the only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
And this is Joe Otto. I'm back.
And yeah, welcome back, Joe. And welcome back. Well, we got to kick right into it because we do have a Trump speech on the other end of this hour. So we got to get going. Today we're talking about the conspiracy theory that Donald Trump is sabotaging the Postal Service to try and sabotage the election. It's amazing how much media coverage is being given to this. It's amazing how wrong that conspiracy theory is. Democrats have been floating this for months. It's really incredible. So we're going to be going through why that's complete BS, and we're going to be talking about what the Democrats are actually trying to do with the legislation. We've covered it before, but we'll show the amendments again. And we're going to talk about an investigation going on in Texas that was actually spearheaded by just a concerned citizen, someone who was really concerned about what she was seeing, did the legwork for 2 years, and was able to uncover voter harvesting fraud in Texas, and now the state is investigating it. So we're going to get all into that. But first, let's put up image number one. This is the allegation that is in the media. Trump's assault, and this is a Washington Post article, Trump's assault on the U.S. Postal Service gives Democrats a new campaign message. Let's go ahead and put up image number two. Democrats are demanding that the Postmaster General, USPS chairman, testify urgently on sabotage, quote, sabotage of Postal Service. And then image number three, this one's actually really interesting. The Post Office warned states across U.S. about mail voting. That was where the Postal Service warned, I think it was 46 states, that the recommendations they're giving people on how early before an election someone has to mail a ballot wasn't accurate, because if they were to follow the state's guidelines, it probably wouldn't get to be counted. It probably wouldn't arrive in time. So lots of really ridiculous claims. Oh, and one more. Let's go ahead and put up image number four. This is funny. This is from Snopes, since we've been talking about fact-checking. This is USPS purposefully slowing mail to help re-elect Trump. Amazingly, they rated that as unproven. They didn't rate it as false. They just rated it as unproven, as if there's some credibility to it.
Well, everything that they do is based off of saying that that's unproven. I don't have enough information, yet they can say that Kamala Harris is African American when she's not African American, and fact check us for that. So it's an interesting standard that you have this partisan fact checking group doing, and the fact that people are actually believing it is even more. It's crazy. We're dealing with it.
It is crazy. So we're going to ask again, everyone, please hit the share button. Help us reach more people, because this is a conspiracy theory that's flooding social media. All of the big major mainstream media outlets are buying into it. They're actually perpetuating it.
Fox is not.
Well, no, even Fox is.
I mean, look, they're at least having they're at least having a conversation about saying they're not going to run out of money, and now they're doing an analysis of USPS's funding, and they only run out of money if you actually bring in, by the way, retirement benefits. So I just want you to know that if you look at just on the balance sheet of them actually running out of money, they don't run out of money until April of 2021, and that's when new budget allotments actually happen.
Yeah.
So it's just all a lie, right? Anybody that owns a business or knows anything about business knows that they're not out of money at all. So and they're not going to run out of money before the election.
So let's go ahead and we'll play a cut from Nancy Pelosi. This was from last week, her press conference, where she's basically claiming that Donald Trump hit the share button. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, according to Nancy Pelosi. Let's play cut one.
Not really ever like the Postal Service, because they always want to find a way to make money off of something, and they want to privatize. But now, at a time of a pandemic, you would think they'd have a little sensitivity. But so obsessed are they to undermine absentee voting that this is their connection there. So
Rhetoric.
the president says he's not putting up any money for absentee voting, and he's not putting up any money for the Postal Service, undermining the health of our democracy.
So apparently the post office is the health of our democracy.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. It's stunning because we all got those notifications. If you've ordered anything from like a mom and pop online retailer, you've got the notifications that, hey, shipping is not as fast as it used to be because of the pandemic. Everything's slowed down. We can't guarantee on-time delivery. When it comes to other things, that's fine, right? It's you have to be safe with the pandemic. But when it comes to mail-in voting, they're shocked. They're shocked. The same kind of delivery times would also apply to absentee ballots. Shocked, I tell you. Nancy Pelosi, it's full of it. It's total BS. But I want to play this cut. This is where it really gets interesting. From Debbie Dingell. She is a representative from Michigan. Let's go ahead and play cut 2.
But why then is Nancy Pelosi putting all this stuff in the bill that has nothing to do with the coronavirus?
Okay, but I'm assuming by the nothing to do, you're talking the post office. And the post office, people, first of all, they're relying on the post office. And I long before all this fuss up started, I've been working with my postal workers and my post offices. Mark Meadows helped me 2 years ago when there were issues. I was at a VA hospital this week. The Veterans Hospital's worried that they're not getting their medicine. I've had seniors call me crying. They're not getting their Social Security checks. It's a glue of our civil society.
So she calls it the glue of our civil society.
Yeah.
Here is why that is fake news. Let's go ahead and put up image number 6. This is from a CNN article. This is what they are talking about. They are claiming that post offices are decommissioning letter sorters. These are machines designed to sort and scan the barcodes on letters, flat letters, envelope. They sort envelope mail.
Right.
There were 502 of these machines that were slated to be decommissioned because they're too old, they don't get used, doesn't make sense. 95% of those were supposed to be decommissioned by the end of July. The reason that leftists are so freaking out over this is because they've also done some of them in this month. So we have to call attention to the fact that when she says that what Trump is doing is horrible because the VA won't get its medicines, how does decommissioning an envelope sorter have anything to do with packages? How does that have anything to do? And if you actually look at image number 7, I'll get your response to it. Image number 7, this is the USPS's explanation. The Postal Service said in a statement that it, quote, routinely moves equipment around its network as necessary to match changing mail and package volumes. Package volume is up, but mail volume continues to decline. Adapting our processing infrastructure to the current volumes will ensure more efficient, cost-effective operations and better service for our customers. So when you hear a Democrat say that, oh, we need it for their medications is why we need it. No, these machines that they're accusing Donald Trump of trying to hide in the closet, they sort flat envelopes, they sort pieces of mail.
Right. But we're also hearing from Debbie Dingell, who, by the way, was appointed. I mean, her predecessor was her husband, who died in 2019, after serving 38 years. I'm sorry, not 38 years. They were married 38 years.
They were married a long time.
Yeah,
and
long
that
time.
was a huge. That was a huge
16
scandal.
Or 17.
Because of how Trump responded to it. But that doesn't give her license to go on this program and lie, because what Trump is doing, decommissioning unused and old mail sorters, has nothing to do with packages. In fact, they're doing it to actually increase the package delivery time, which people waiting on medications would enjoy. The other thing, Joe just beat us to the punch. I was waiting to get to this. She mentions that Donald Trump is sabotaging people and stopping them from getting their Social Security checks. Social Security checks have not been mailed for 10 years.
Yeah.
They are required to be sent digitally, to be direct deposited into your accounts. Only on very rare cases are exceptions granted for those checks to be put into snail mail. Everyone, with the exception of a very small number of exceptions, and they have to apply for that exception, they have to receive that exception. Everyone else, almost everyone, gets their Social Security benefits electronically now.
But
so
this is the problem.
Yeah.
This is the problem. We're having a conversation about the rhetoric of the left. It's the same indoctrination. It's the same sort of rhetoric they've been spewing for decades. It's just they've turned up the volume because now they've infiltrated the media and they've infiltrated different environments. They're creating this kind of whack-a-mole environment where we're walking over here whacking this mole, trying to say, hey, that's not true. But now they've infiltrated big tech, or they are big tech, right? They've infiltrated the media, and so that's all we hear. That's all anyone hears. They think the sky is falling. You'd think that the world was literally on fire and that there's been a fire tornado, which first time they've ever done that, by the way. We should probably talk about that for a minute. Across the entire U.S. The place is just burning up. It's not. It's not burning up. And what Trump is doing is actually really good for our country, right? He's holding the USPS responsible for the first time ever. And on top of that, he's telling the Democrats who are creating this oh man, I'm so mad. I need a plastic bag. Can I have a paper bag just so I can breathe into it?
Well, let's make you a little madder. Let's put up image A. This is Maxine Waters spreading the same false conspiracy theories, false lies. Trump, we're all hearing from seniors. They need their medicine, their groceries. They need their disability and Social Security checks. Why are you harming us by slowing down the mail system and destroying the U.S. Postal Service? Don't you understand how important the mail system is? That's from Maxine Waters.
Wow.
Joe, have you ever heard anyone getting their groceries delivered by the United States Postal Service?
Yes. Yeah, just now. Maxine Waters said it. It's got to be true because Maxine Waters said it, right? I mean, Maxine Waters says it. I mean, she's probably one of the dumbest human beings this side of the planet, which, along with most of the Democrats in office, get elected by stupid Democrats because Democrats are fairly stupid. I just heard it for the first time ever, and yeah, it's amazing to me that the world actually exists without the USPS and
groceries
because they can't get the groceries. Yeah,
he's removing flat envelope. And I guess like postcard, whatever, flat mail sorting machines because more packages are coming in.
Yeah.
So even if someone was getting their groceries delivered by the USPS, which God help them if it's perishable, that's all I'm going to say. Even if they were, the flat mail sorting machine, unless they're buying strips of bacon one at a time and they're putting them in envelopes, there is or maybe some prosciutto, some really thinly sliced meat. There's no groceries that are going to be sorted by those letter sorters. It just isn't real. It isn't real.
And now
it's
they're
fake.
Now they're attacking the Inspector General. I don't know if you saw that, but they're attacking the Inspector General because they said that he's in on it with President Trump and that he's actually trying to adversely affect the election as well. I mean, it just has the shame has no end, right, for them. They're just shameless.
Let's go ahead and put up image number 5. This is from 2017. This is that Inspector General you just talked about. Postal Service broke the law in pushing time off for workers to campaign for Clinton. That was a U.S. government investigation. They found that the Postal Service was working with the union to give postal workers time off. So instead of doing their job, they could go campaign for Hillary Clinton. The investigation not only found that was illegal, a violation of the Hatch Act, which every time Donald Trump opens his mouth, the left tries to accuse he broke that law. Not only was it a violation of the Hatch Act, but the investigation also found that the Postal Service has been coordinating with the union to help elect Democrat candidates since 1990. That's how widespread and systematic these federal crimes were. And yes, it is a federal crime to give someone time off so that they can go and campaign for someone. If it's paid time off, it is a federal crime. You cannot pay a worker to go campaign for one candidate over the other. And as we mentioned last week, the U.S. Postal Workers Union has endorsed Joe Biden. So why would anyone want them to be the people who are collecting the mail? It makes absolutely no sense. I want to play this cut. We have 2 cuts.
And why should we give them money? Why should we give them money so that they can have a partisan attack? And by the way, the envelopes that come in to vote with, they are actually inside the barcode sorted for Republicans and Democrats. Did you know that?
Well, it depends on the state. Depends on the way it works in the state. Different states are different. Some states have unique envelopes for Republican or Democrat. Some states are blind. Some states have envelopes with little holes in them that come back Republican or Democrat. That would probably be up to states when it comes to state primaries. But we're talking about the general election. I want to play this cut because this is John Tester. He's a senator. He's a Democrat senator from Montana. This is what happens when red states elect blue senators. We have 2 quick cuts back to back. Let's play cut 3.
Senator, before we get into the political side of this, let's talk about the people in your state and other rural states like yours. These cutbacks slow down the delivery of medicine, Social Security checks, things your constituents need to survive. Is that getting overlooked here?
Well, I don't, not by Montanans, it's not, I'll tell you that. I think folks in Montana understand that the Postal Service is a critical lifeline for our rural communities and folks who live in remote areas. And it's true, it's about voting, but it's also about folks being able to get their prescription drugs. It's about folks being able to get their parts and their packages on time in a timely manner. I mean, the Postal Service is something that is critical for rural America.
So, again, a lie. When
Yep.
they say that it's stopping, that letter sorting machines are stopping medicines and Social Security checks, again, that is a lie, because the letter machines are for flat envelopes, so they don't process packages, and Social Security checks do not get mailed out anymore, except for rare exceptions which have to be applied for and granted. But this is the next part I want to do, because this is really interesting. This is where that MSNBC host calls the United States Postal Service beloved. Let's play cut 4.
Senator, it's more than just important, it's beloved. Pew Research did a survey in the spring. 91% of Americans approve of the Postal Service. So can you help me understand, what is this big hullabaloo, this demand to make the Postal Service profitable? Yeah, it would be great if they were, but it's very rare for government agencies to make money. Take the Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation, Department of Defense. They don't make any money. Why is there so much insistence for the Postal Service to?
Well, I don't know. I will tell you this, Stephanie. I think the Postal Service can become more financially sustainable, but you can't do it by cutting service. You can't do it by removing collection boxes. You can't do it by doing what the Trump administration has done to our Postal Service. It's going to drive it further in the hole, and they want to see it go away.
So it's interesting. The reason that mailboxes are being shifted around and moved is because they're moving the mailboxes that very rarely get used. So when you take a mailbox off of a route, and we're talking about the public mailboxes, we're not talking about ones in front of people's houses. We're talking about, you go down the road, you see a postal USPS mailbox. They're removing the ones that aren't getting used enough to justify the cost of a postal worker stopping his vehicle, getting out, grabbing the mail, and getting back in. It's just common sense. But when he says that, when they say it's beloved, Joe, have you ever been to the Postal Service and saw people having a good time?
No.
Have you ever been to the post office and saw people having a good time standing in line and saying, wow, I love the way this operates?
No. Matter of fact, I think what we're seeing is, and the things that we're talking about as far as moving mailboxes has more to do with becoming more efficient, because they have to compete against the FedExes and the UPSs of the world. And so that kind of transition of, becoming more driven by specific routes and what kind of mail is actually delivered, started way back in early 2000s, right? 2001, 2002.
Yeah.
But I wanted to research really quick just to kind of come back to Social Security checks, because they're saying basically that people aren't receiving their Social Security checks. In 2013, 93% of all payments were made electronically, right? That left about 5 million checks. In what do you think that number moved to in 2019?
It's next to zero. It's 0.0%.
Yeah, so
of checks are actually mailed.
Yeah, so 99.4% of all payments made, right, for Social Security, and that means VA benefits, everything else, are made done by electronics. So you're talking about 0.6% roughly are still out there and being mailed.
And all of them have specifically asked to have the U.S. Postal Service deliver their checks.
And
those
I want
are
to
not
say,
people that have just been grandfathered in. They said, I want the Postal Service. I want to wait for snail mail to bring it to me,
right,
as opposed to it automatically be deposited.
So, but I want to point this out, that is a statistic that came right off of USPS's website, right? And in 2019 was actually, there was an article written on CNN. I don't usually use them as a source, but CNN.com actually did something on retirement, Social Security checks, and VA benefits as well. So I just for the fact checkers, they're going to go out there and lose their mind and say, oh, it's more than that. Look, the left has this just they have a history of lying. They have a history of building false statements. They have a history of propaganda. Right? They have a history of saying, Ralph Nader comes out and says, oh, that's just some lie that is happening, that there isn't civil unrest going on and there isn't mass protests and people getting shot in the streets. That's not really happening. That's just some sort of rumor. Nadler. Sorry.
Very different. Those are two different people.
Very, very different. But what we're seeing is that they just perpetuate this lie and people are actually believing it. They're actually believing this lie.
Yeah,
but here's what's happening. People are waking up all over the United States right now. You have people that were staunch liberals that are coming out with MAGA hats on. You have New York, and Trump said he's like, I could win New York. Why? People are leaving New York in droves right now. There are homeless people all over the streets. Everything that is run by a Democrat right now is in total disrepair. It literally is just coming apart at the seams. And by the way, those people that are leaving those areas, unfortunately, are moving to areas that are red states. That's the unfortunate part. Is they're going to bring that
and they're
cancer,
bringing their voting records with them.
Yeah, they're bringing their cancer to different parts of the country. And
so
frankly,
I actually went into this claim that the majority of Americans like the Postal Service, and I went into the study from Pew Research. And Pew Research claims that 91% of Americans, 91% of Republicans, and 91% of Democrats like and support how the post office is operating. So let's go ahead and put up, this is image number 11. This is in the methodology of that Pew Research poll. And you look at the sample, they called and talked to a little over 1,000 people. And when you actually look at the breakdown of percentages, only the weighted was 37%, Democrat was 48%. So not only are they not actually treating it as if they're equal, but they're weighting it. And I want to put up this image. This is image number 10, just to see what I mean by that. Image number 10 shows that when they actually talk to people, of the people they called, only 27% identified as Republican, 33% identified as Democrat. So the way they got to that extrapolated number is by breaking down independents.
Right.
So right off the bat, they didn't call an equal number of Republican and Democrats. They always do this with the surveys. It's always very lopsided towards Democrats. Very, very dishonest. But I want to put this up because I went through the survey even more. Let's put up image number 8. This is what they said with the CDC. The CDC has a 79% favorable rating. And that is almost unchanged. That is almost unchanged. To put in comparison, last year it was pegged at 80, the year before 78, 2 years before 79. During a pandemic, what we're led to believe is the worst pandemic ever, the Centers for Disease Control it actually went down 1%. But 1% of respondents had never heard of the CDC. This is where it gets really, really weird. Let's go ahead and put up image number 9. This is the question for the IRS. Right off the bat,
we already know that's a lie.
That's a lie. Come on now. 65% of Americans support the IRS and think the IRS is doing a great job. That's a BS survey. I'm sorry. That's a BS survey. And to the 1% of Americans, apparently, who have never heard of the IRS, I wish I could say the same. And the 5% who have not had an opinion on the IRS, very, very interesting findings. But that's what we're being forced down our throats. This idea that, oh no, everyone likes the post office. The post office is great. Why wouldn't you trust the post office to handle and manage an election? Those postal workers are great, even though we just said that they were actually cited for breaking the law going all the way back to 1990 to help elect Democrats. Everyone likes the post office. 91%. I've never met anyone who said, yeah, I had a good time at the post office.
Well,
Never.
And by the way, if the post office was doing so well, why are more people switching over to FedEx and UPS?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, they're leaving the U.S. Postal Service, and it's less expensive than UPS and or FedEx, but people don't want to deal with the Postal Service. They don't want to deal with the fact that they're inept. They don't have to deal with. I mean, we just had a problem here where the post office, they had to fire the postmaster because they literally weren't delivering mail. Mail would just disappear. So President Trump is concerned about the validity of the ballots, right? And we should all be concerned about the validity of the ballots. So you have millions of ballots that are going out. You don't have to do any sort of authentication. You don't have to have any sort of proof that you're actually the person that actually completed that ballot. And frankly, our election cycle, from the time that we actually elect our president to the time that we actually say, okay, this person won, whatever the race is it's a very short period of time. So going back and doing an audit of those ballots becomes very difficult. And what we've seen over the last several election cycles, and this has nothing to do with the lies on the left, but it kind of does, is that we have had massive amounts of voter fraud, massive amounts of harvesting that has already existed. And now they're just making it easier for Democrats to harvest ballots. And if you don't think that the left is doing that, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they are doing it when they find truckloads of ballots from the 2016
well, they're always
election.
doing that. They're always finding truckloads. They're always finding trunks of rental cars. Oh, we returned the rental car, and we found out, oh, there was a couple boxes of ballots, changing the results of the election a couple days later. There's always stories like that. As we get into this break, which we're going to have to take a short break, I want to bring up this. Let's go ahead and put up image number 12. This was published towards the end of last week by the Detroit News. The Michigan Secretary of State put out the results for how many mail-in ballots were rejected. And the media ran with the line that 6,400 out of 10,600 were rejected for arriving late. They wanted to basically make the narrative about the Postal Service. But they buried the lead because 846 were not accepted because the voter was dead.
Yeah.
Leave that up. Put that back up. Put that back up. The 846 ballots were rejected in Michigan during their primary because a dead person had voted. Now, that's not a dead person voting. It's not possible. That's an alive person voting on behalf of a dead person. That is voter fraud. That is voter fraud. So all this thing like, oh, no one tries to use mail-in ballots for voter fraud. The Michigan Secretary of State just confirmed that, yes, 846 people did try and vote, and it was fraudulent. It was absolutely fraudulent. So we have to take a real quick break.
That's
going into the break
8%
of the total.
Yeah, that's 8% of the total.
ballots, yeah.
Right. So just imagine how many elections are actually are won by less than 8%.
Yeah. Right. So going into this break, we're going to put up a poll. Do you trust the post office to run the election? Take the poll, and on the other side of the break, we will give you the results. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Last night, I had a dream. Shook me to the core. Opened my eyes, and nothing was like before. Graduation, prom, hanging with my besties, those safe faces, safe places, rooms where you would test me. 2 square meals a day, gone.
Gotta change that music.
And we're back
I hate that
from
music.
the break. That clip was from our sponsor. Didn't mention at the top because we're rushing to try and get this episode in before Trump's speech. But today's episode is brought to you by ACE Scholarships, which is a pro-school choice organization that provides children of low-income families with scholarships so they can attend a private school in grades K through 12. So ACE Scholarships was founded in 2000 with a vision to give every child access to a quality education, and has since awarded over 42,000 scholarships across 8 states, doing really good work. If you want to learn more about ACE Scholarships, make sure that you check out the link in our description, and you can learn how you can help them with their school choice ministry. They also have their annual luncheon, which is going to be online, so you can check that link out if you want to participate and donate. Really, really good organization, really, really good cause. So
I hate that music.
Let's.
Somebody just said the music is so good. No, I don't like that music. I need new music. Terminator music.
So let's keep going. I find it really interesting that the Democrats want to have mail-in voting. So the only way people can vote is if you have mail-in voting. Okay, that seems good enough. Really easy work. You send them a ballot. Let's just take their hypothetical. You send them a ballot. They fill out their ballot. They put it in their mailbox at home, and they're done, right? So why do we need ballot harvesters? If we're sending everyone a ballot, why do we also need ballot harvesters? Let's put up image number 14. This is from the actual bill that Nancy Pelosi is pushing, permitting voters to designate another person to return their ballot. The state,
any
quote,
person.
Any person. Well, no, I was reading. Permitting voters to designate other person to return ballot. The state, quote, shall permit a voter to designate any person to return a voted and sealed absentee ballot to the post office, a ballot drop-off location, tribal designated building, or election office, so long as the person designated is not paid per ballot. So ballot harvesting, that is where we've all had it. Someone knocks on your door and says, hey, I'm canvassing the neighborhood on behalf of this candidate or this organization. Want to tell you to support this candidate or this organization, right? That's what ballot harvesting is, taking those canvassers and giving them the ability to not only tell you how to vote, not only help you fill out your ballot, but also to take possession of that ballot for you. Let's go ahead and put up image number 15. There's no limit on how many ballots a harvester can turn in. States, quote, may not put any limit on how many voted and sealed absentee ballot any designated person can return to the post office, a ballot drop-off location, tribally designated building, or election office. So that is in the bill that Nancy Pelosi is demanding Republicans support.
Why would they support it? If they support it, man,
yeah, go ahead.
Season of recalls if they actually support it. They shouldn't support it. That bill should never make it through. Never. It should never make it through. I'm just praying that the Republicans can actually hold strong and say, look, this is not about negotiating. This is not about compromise. This is about the democracy. Everything that they say that they do on the left, they do the opposite, right? So they say, hey, we're against racism, we're for equality, while they're just a bunch of closet racists. That's just truth. You know, we want to protect the children but most of the people that actually get them elected are pedophiles and rapists. I can't even fathom the idea that the general public is so stupid that they actually cannot see through it. I can't.
Yeah.
But they're not. I mean, people are living in hell in certain areas. I mean, war zones, and they seem to still. And I'm hoping it changes this year. I'm hoping that they just have a season of a red wave that comes over, because they're like, look, I used to vote for a liberal candidate, but they've destroyed my community. They've basically taken away all my opportunity. I think it's time to get away from those people because they're loonies, and just be able to shut them out. I'm hoping that that's the case. Hope is not a strategy.
When you see that the bill that they're pushing actually would require that states let ballot harvesters turn in as many ballots as they want, no limit. Ballot harvesters could literally turn in thousands of ballots. This is ballot stuffing. This is dumping ballots on a desk 5 minutes before the election's over and say, oh, by the way, have a bunch of these ballots. You technically have to take them. No questions asked. That's how crazy this is. Let's go ahead and put up image number 16. This is the other provision in the bill. You're not allowed to require a witness or a notary to confirm that the person who voted is who they say they are. This is important. This is important because a lot of states require that, a witness, someone who signs it. Yep, the person who just says they voted, that is who they say they are. Some states require notaries. We have to go get it notarized for absentee ballots. The only reason to do that is to allow people to vote without proving their identity. So the scenario that you're left with is a ballot harvester going into a nursing home or some kind of assisted living facility, telling people, oh, okay, here's your ballot, here's how you should vote, telling them how to vote, actually filling it out for them if they're not able to, and potentially even signing it for them. No questions asked. Not only is it ballot harvesting, it's also called granny harvesting. It's disgusting, but it happens, and this would legalize it.
Yeah, so why can't
our poll at the break, 98% of people do not trust the post office to run the election. 2%, one person does. Very interesting that one person thinks the post office should run our elections. But those are the results. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I just don't understand why we on the conservatives, why we don't fight back by doing the same things and actually going out and because there are places where harvesting does exist, right? There are places nationally in states where you can actually gather up ballots from other people currently, right? So why is it that we can't, as conservatives, do the same thing and go out and actually go to all the senior living homes or the cemeteries and pick up ballots?
Well, we don't have the infrastructure.
I'm kidding about the
Democrats have been preparing for this for years.
Right.
They've been doing this where it's legal, like California. They've also been doing it where it's illegal, hoping that one day they could force every state to allow it so that they've trained and they know how to steal elections. That's what we're talking about here, stealing elections. And if you're saying that we need the post office to give everyone and take everyone's ballots, and that's you need that, right? And it's for social distancing, right? It's social distancing. That's why you need it. Why would you send a stranger into someone's home to pick up the ballot? That just seems like it's the opposite of social distancing. Putting close physical contact, having an actual piece of paper change hands immediately without any time for the virus to decay, it seems like that would be counter to that. But no, it's apparently what we need to do. We need to send people to go knock on everyone's door. That's how you fight the virus, apparently. It's laughable. It's a joke. And Joe, you mentioned that there is ballot harvesting going on, voter harvesting. Let's go ahead and put up image number 16. There is a Texas investigation ongoing right now. Sorry, the other one, the other image 16. Sorry, they're both labeled 16. Texas investigation. There's a Texas investigation ongoing right now, and it is to look into whether there is voter harvesting.
Come on, Josh.
There's voter harvesting going on. And that was all started by a concerned citizen. A concerned citizen said, hey, wait a minute. They looked into it a little bit, said, hey, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I want to figure out what's going on here. She looked into it. Her name is Colleen Vera. And after looking into it, she spent 2 years doing a deep dive into one county called Harris County. That's the Houston area of Texas. It also happens to be where Sheila Jackson Lee is, coincidentally enough. She's like, this doesn't make sense. The ballots don't make sense. I want to get to the bottom of it. She spent 2 years looking into it. And what she found was absolutely startling. And the documents we're about to show you are what have prompted the Texas Secretary of State to open up an investigation into this. Let's go ahead and put up image number 17. This is what she found. She basically pulled the government record for all of, and let's leave this up for a little bit, all of the absentee ballot applications for Harris County. And what she found
all
was
written
that
in the same,
a ton of them
yeah,
have the same signature, same handwriting. And you look at this. These are all applications for the voter to receive a ballot by mail, all filled out by the same person. You can tell by the way they write their T, the way they write their number 7, their H. Very clear. You don't have to be a handwriting expert to see that these are written by the same person. These are. Joe, do they look like they're the same person?
Absolutely. And actually, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this by itself, I mean, wow. I wonder what the average age of all these people is as well.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. These are, so she found 32 ballots that were all matching like this. And so she said, that's interesting. I wonder whether these were all sent in, the applications were sent by the same person. So let's put up image number 18. This is what she got after she did a public records request on the envelopes to be sent in. So these were applications to vote by mail that were sent in to the county clerk. They're all on the same envelopes. As you can see, the envelopes are written to the county clerk, and the return address is also the county clerk, so that if for whatever reason there's not enough stamps, it still gets where it needs to go. But it's all in the same envelopes, all using the same stamps, all postmarked around the same time on the same day, all from the same zip codes. It's like, whoa, this is a lot of coincidences. So then she filed another public records request. Let's put up image number 19. And then she found.
And Max, this is not fake news. This is really happening in our country. This is really happening right now. Like, we're dealing with this right now. So share this, by the way. Share this. Share it. For those of you who think that, it can't be such a bad idea to have people actually harvest votes and more people would vote that way, that's not what's happening. What's happening is they're manipulating it. They're taking away your democracy while they're literally stealing your country while they're out there telling you that Trump is the bad guy. This is the example of Chicken Little. The sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Only they're robbing your house, taking away your retirement, and destroying the ability for your kids, grandkids, and generations you'll never even see from having success. Sorry, go ahead, Max.
So let's go ahead and put up that image again. Image 19. These are the envelopes after they've sent the application for a mail-in ballot. These are the envelopes that were sent back to the voter with their ballot inside of them. And what you can see is that these are 8 of the 32. She said that they were all the same. What you can see is that highlighted bit on the left, they were all to the same congressional district.
Right.
So she's doing the deep dive, said that same handwriting on the applications, same envelope and stamps and postmark date on the letters to send the applications in, same district when they get sent back. So they're saying, okay, this is all happening in the same area. Joe, would you believe that they all, almost all of them, coincidentally voted the same way? Let's put up image number 20. Here's 4 of those ballots. And she says, Colleen says, that out of the 32 that she identified were all linked, 30 voted the exact same way. Exact same way. And these are 4 of the ballots you can see right in front of you, which she's able to get through public records requests. 4 of the ballots. Not only did they vote the same way, but they checked the boxes the same way, which is another level of no way that should happen in real world scenarios. Some people do check marks, some people do X's, some people color the box in all the way, right? There's different ways to check a box. For them all to use the X, and they all are using the same kind of X, which is 2 distinct lines as opposed to connecting the lines, right? There's different ways to do it. The odds of 30 of those 32 ballots voting the exact same way, using the exact same marking, astronomical.
It's nearly impossible.
Astronomical.
You have a better chance of actually riding a pink unicorn. I mean, not that I would want you to ride a pink unicorn, but I mean, if you were to ride a unicorn that don't exist, you'd have a better chance of riding that unicorn than you would of seeing what we just saw.
So it's really interesting. So then Colleen, God bless this woman.
Keep going. There's more.
God bless this woman. She had a hunch and she followed this to its conclusion. Let's go ahead and put up image number 21. This is what she received after she requested all the list of people who had requested 50 or more vote by mail applications, right? So if she said, okay, there's 32, all written by the same person, that means that let's assume they did at least 50. So she got this list, and some of it's blacked out for identity purposes. But she went through all of these people and said, okay, well, who are these people? Well, one's for a church, so we're going to assume that that's not there. Then she sees Sheila Jackson Lee right at the top. And, you know, she says, ooh, that's interesting. And then she sees another name, Fisher, right below it. Those 2 that are underlined in the top 3. Yep. So she starts doing background checks. I love this woman. She starts doing background checks on the list of people who have gotten at least 50 ballots.
People, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. This is not something where we just, I mean, we're following we're going down the rabbit trail. We didn't do it, but, you know, it's been done. She went all the way down the rabbit trail, and what she's coming out the other end, wait till you hear the rest of it. Go ahead, Max.
So this woman, Colleen Vera, bless her heart, retired teacher and activist, said something doesn't look right, and she spent 2 years getting to the bottom of it, which anyone who has ever filed for public records know that it's a headache. So she said, okay, I'm going to go one by one through this list of people and see if anyone has a fraud conviction. Let's see if anyone has a fraud conviction on their record. Let's put up image number 22. Yep. Oh. Gloria Palmer, who worked for Sheila Jackson Lee harvesting ballots, and Sherry Fisher.
Yeah.
Both
for forgery. Forgery.
Yeah. Forgery. So we can take that image off.
And
so
Gloria has 2. Wait, put that back up.
No, don't put it back up. Take it down.
No,
I don't want to slut shame anyone. We're not going to talk about the fact that she's also been a defendant in prostitution cases. We're not going to do that because right now we're talking about the forgeries.
All right.
It would be a violation of Facebook's term.
Would it be?
It would be a violation of Facebook's terms of service to mention to you that Gloria Palmer was twice involved in prostitution cases. Can't talk about that.
Okay,
Can't talk about that at all. But the point is that they're forgers. They're actually forgers. And that's not just someone who's accused of forgery. This is the criminal case search, a criminal search, which you have to pay to do. God bless Colleen. She paid the fee to do the background check in Texas on all these people.
Yeah.
And the reason we're able to put this up is because they are public records. So she did the background check, found out that 2 were forgers. And then she said, I wonder whether they actually got paid by the big wigs in the Democrat Party. Let's put up the last image number 23. Yep. Gloria Palmer was paid by Sheila Jackson Lee. So we cannot prove that these 2 people are the ones who did those 32 ballots that were exactly the same. Or the 30 of the 32 that were exactly the same. We can't prove it. We can't. But when you put this case together, that yes, ballots were fraudulently filled out, because there's no way that 30 people, all in the same district, vote for the same candidates in the same manner with the same kind of X. And you know that they also filled out their application in the same handwriting, right? It doesn't add up. There's too many coincidences. When you see that there's also forgers involved in this effort, you start realizing that this is a big deal. And the reason they're investigating this, Joe, is because ballot harvesting is illegal in Texas. You're not legally allowed to do this. As we just showed from Sheila Jackson Lee's campaign expenditures, ballot harvesting was not on that list because you're not allowed to do it. You're allowed to go door to door, but you're not allowed to do it. These people were ballot harvesting. They got caught, and now the state of Texas is investigating them. So it shows you just how scummy this whole operation is. This is one congressional district.
And by the way, this is in their ethos. This is what they do culturally. They lie, cheat, steal. They go low. These are the scum of the earth. I'm telling you, the Democrat Party has a serious issue. 60, 70% of theirs. It was 40%, 50%. I moved it to 70%.
Because it's going up.
Because the Democrats need to abandon. If you're truly for the United States, right? If you're truly for the opportunity that you've been given, you cannot support the Democrat Party. You can't. You cannot support anything that they're about. These are loony leftists. Kamala Harris locks up more, literally, the school to prison pipeline. She's all for it. Small offenses, giving people 10 years. Keeping black men and women in prison so they can make 40 cents an hour, right, for inmate work, because if they would have let them go on the time allotted, that they should have been released from prison, it would create a shortage of inmates for their prison work slave program, let's call it. Right?
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up, guys. You can't. You can't make up the stuff that we just walked through of proving the people that actually were involved in forgery and other stuff, illicit activities.
Yeah.
Were involved in harvesting ballots. They were harvesting ballots. They were literally harvesting ballots in Texas.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen next? It's going to happen all over the country, and it's happening all over the country.
We know that 32 were filled out with this. The application was filled out using the same handwriting, sent in the same pre-written envelopes, using the same stamps, postmarked from the same post office. And it was returned to in the same congressional district, and that when they looked, when Colleen, again, bless her heart, when she did the public records request, found that 30 of the 32 were voting for the same exact candidate using the same method of checking off the box.
Right.
And we know that 2 of the people who did at least 50 of these, which again, there's other people who did 50. I'm not going to suggest that everyone who took 50 applications out was fraudulent, but we know that 2 of the people that took at least 50 ballots have passed forgery convictions.
Yeah.
And one of them was hired by Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee to do this kind of stuff. This
Max,
is what they want to make nationwide.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see. Move along. Nothing to see here. I don't see anything.
Yeah.
This is all a conspiracy theory. Look, it's not a conspiracy theory if the conspiracy is actually happening. And it's happening. I mean, you tell me how it's not happening. We're sitting here staring down the barrel of a conspiracy against the democracy, the republic in our country. It's against it. And by the way, if the left, here's something I want you to stew on a little bit. Here's my question. If the left, if what they represented on the left was so mainstream and logical, then why do they have to cheat? Why do they have to cheat? If this is all logic and really this is where everyone should go, right? Stop eating animals, only eat plants, let animals live, some of the crazy stuff that's out there where they try to force their beliefs on other people. If all of that was so mainstream, then why are they indoctrinating kids at the university level? Why are they indoctrinating kids in elementary school? Why are they creating these ideologies and actually rising up people to be in these positions so that they can actually fundamentally change the course of the United States? If it's so mainstream, if it makes sense, why are we having to deal with this cheating that's happening in our country? Tell me. I'd like to know.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And as I mentioned, this was everything we just brought up, which is why I said everyone hit the share button because it was going to get juicy. We just went down a really deep rabbit hole. And that's a rabbit hole that's deeper than most of us would be willing to search. It took this woman, Colleen, 2 years to get what we just showed you. 2 years of public records requests, of filing the forms to get it. because she got ballots. She actually got real
Right.
ballots. So it's amazing that this is what one concerned citizen is able to accomplish when she just has a hunch. Imagine what would be uncovered if the actual prosecutors and investigators and police actually were allowed to dive into this, because the claim that voter fraud doesn't happen, that mail-in voter fraud doesn't happen, just isn't true.
It's
we
rampant.
just showed you
It's
that
running
it
rampant.
happens.
It's running rampant on our society, and
If
by
it
the
happens,
way, people are getting elected because of this. They're getting elected because of this. You're letting foreign interests like George Soros and others influence our country, influence our elections, influence how our country actually runs. And people, listen, you can actually do something about this. You can actually stand up. Now, I'm not going to say go punch a Democrat in the face, right? Don't do that. But you can actually defend. Maybe I subliminally would say that to someone, but not you.
Well, you've said it before.
But we have to, at some point, start standing up and meeting them low. We have to meet them low. We can't meet them high. We can't take the high road anymore. We can't say, well, hey, we're going to let God sort it out. God put us out here to actually sort it out for him, right? So there are weapons that you have, like volunteering, making sure that you actually support the proper candidates, speaking up, right? Everybody's like, I don't like conflict. Well, so what? I don't care if you don't. Nobody likes conflict. But letting these clowns actually do what they're doing. And if we go, for USPS, let's put that aside for a second. Portland, Seattle, where are you guys? Where are you? Where are you? Where are
crazy.
you? Where are you when they're actually destroying your streets? They're spray painting. Where are you, New York? Where are you? Even if you're a classical Democrat, where are you? Why are you not marching in the street against these clowns? Why are you not creating a human bulldozer and just taking these people out of your society and walking them out of your cities? Where are you? Why aren't you doing it? I mean, just give me a reason why you would actually let this happen and take over your community. Tell me why. Because you don't have courage? Or maybe you just don't have time. You have a job. Make time. Because if we don't start making time and taking care of these clowns, it's going to grow like a cancer. It already has grown into our government. Our government is out of control. The amount of spending that our government spends, you could cut 40% of our entire government structure, 40% of it, and you'd never even know it. You pay taxes. Go ahead.
There have been more days of riots in Portland, more nights of riots in Portland than there are days left before the November election.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's how long this has been going on. It's crazy. And I want to bring this up, Joe, because we just highlighted literal voter fraud, voter harvesting fraud in both ballot applications and mail-in ballots to be submitted. We identified that. Joe, Sheila Jackson Lee won her seat in Congress with 75.25% of the vote.
Right.
The Republican received 20.81. We are led to believe that Democrats win these seats consistently because it's all Democrats voting in their election. I'm just confused as to why Sheila Jackson Lee would need to hire a ballot harvester to win. If she won by over 55% of the vote, by just almost 55% of the vote. Don't want to get fact checked. 54 and change percent of the vote. Massive.
Right.
She won 75 to 20.
So how do we know that she's not using it as a testing ground? How do they know they're not using it as a testing ground for other parts of the country?
The question is, why does she need it? Why does she need to ballot harvest if it's such a runaway victory, right? And the other question is, would she have won by 54% if she didn't have ballot harvesting?
No.
Right? Because it's illegal. Ballot harvesting is illegal in Texas. That's why this is being investigated by the Secretary of State. Would she have won? And is she that worried? It just, none of it makes sense. And if they're willing to do it in the hard blue districts, the deeply blue districts in a red state, you know that they're doing it in swing states. You know that they're doing it in swing districts. You know that they're doing where it's legal and illegal, as we just showed. There's more questions than answers. And at some point, we're going to need to have those questions answered. But it's not going to be between now and the election. And it's not going to come out in time to stop it from happening. So the last thing any of us should do is want to make this nationwide. Right?
And not only make it, maybe that's actually what they're seeing. Maybe the test is that the reason why they're coming back is that they have data. So one of the things that the left is good at is they've infiltrated and actually permeated big tech. So big tech basically suppresses our voice all the time. They have weaponized technology against people who are logical, right? They want to create chaos in our country. So now they have the data on their side. I mean, they're actually using ballot harvesters now. So they're like, hey, look, if we can have harvest ballots across the country, we can destroy the republic. We can destroy the United States. We can tear down more of history. We can tell kids in second grade, not third grade, that, hey, hold on to it. We'll figure out what your gender is later. Let's not decide that yet. You might be a purple dinosaur, so please don't decide yet that you're not a dinosaur, right? More of this will permeate our society. The strong are working hard. I understand that as people are listening to this, they are actually out there working hard. You're working hard. You're hard at work. But if you fail to stand up right now, if you fail to stand up to big tech, you fail to stand up and say, I've had enough, right? Then the republic's already lost. And I understand that you're working hard and you're trying to just support your family and just keep things afloat. I understand you got to make a paycheck, but sacrifices have to be made. There's been a ton of sacrifices made to this point to protect the republic, and frankly, now we got to get on the bandwagon to come together. And that's part of the reason why, Max, I'm so excited about what we're doing with FEC United. I'm just ridiculously excited about it, and I know that I'm pushing that in a little bit, but FEC United is an organization that's going across the entire country that is going to be able to give people a foundation in communities to understand what their candidates stand for and who's actually protecting the community and who isn't. So I hope it's not a little too late, but there's only so much we can do. But we're
it's not too little too late, because we just showed that one concerned citizen,
right,
with a few bucks in her pocket and the determination to file a bunch of public records requests, can get to the truth. Right, one person can make a difference. So I'm not saying everyone has to go out and dig for voter fraud the way this woman Colleen did, but it's not hopeless. We can still stop this, and the way we do that is by holding Congress's feet to the fire and stop them from passing this atrocious vote by mail bill. Because as we said earlier, it makes no sense to say that we need vote by mail for social distancing, but then that we also need to send strangers into people's homes to collect the ballots when they could just as easily safely deposit their ballots. It's a logical fallacy. It makes no sense. But Democrats are demanding it, and the Republicans are starting to buckle. Their resolve is starting to buckle. So I will say, everyone, please hit the share button. Right now, we're competing with the President of the United States, so it's tough, right? We don't have as many people watching live as we would have wanted to, but Trump's speaking, so it makes sense. Make sure you hit the share button, because what we just went through is very important. People need to see it. The mainstream media isn't giving it nearly enough coverage. So please, please, please make sure you hit the share button, make sure you hit the like button, and make sure that you leave some comments in the comment section. We're going to be live streaming Trump's speeches. He has 2 campaign events today, one in Wisconsin, the other one in Minnesota. So he's doing 2. Tonight's the kickoff for the Democratic convention. So I'm going to be streaming that live and reacting to it and fact-checking it in real time. That'll be fun. Still trying to figure out how to get a counter that will count as high as I anticipate the lie number will get to. But we're going to be doing that tonight, so make sure you check out on our page. We'll be streaming that and reacting to it. Fair use, because we're going to be reacting to it and fact-checking it. So make sure you check that out. And, just make sure you check out all the links in our description. Any final word, Joe?
Courage. Courage is as infectious as fear, if not more infectious than fear. So standing up, people, listen. You have got to get to the point where you decide that you stand next to your next door neighbor and just say, look, we've had enough, and go arm in arm. That's what these Antifa freaks are doing, right? They're actually going out there and they're destroying your community, right? So at some point you got to put down the hammer. If that's what you do for a living, you got to put down the stethoscope, and you got to stand together and run these fools out of town, right? And you're like, where are they going to go? I don't care. You just need to get them out of your community. So that's all I got. And by the way, when we're done watching this, go up and watch Trump's speaking right now, right above this.
So please do that. Check that out. We're competing against ourselves, so it makes it a little bit hard. But no, it was a good episode today. Make sure you hit the share button. And make sure you get out and vote. Vote in person. Don't vote by mail. Anyone who trusts the Postal Service with your sacred right to vote, you're an idiot. If you're going to trust a postal worker with delivering your ballot, do it yourself. Not just make sure you do it yourself. Don't trust the postal workers who have just endorsed Joe Biden. Just don't do it. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. Remember that you can download the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store. We're everywhere. We're on TuneIn. We're on Spotify. All links in the description. We're on Parler, at Conservative Daily on Parler. Follow us there. Happy to follow you back. Make sure you check out the link in our description for our sponsor, ACE Scholarships, as well as the link to join our email newsletter, because eventually Facebook's probably going to come down on us, give us the ban hammer, and it's going to be important to have that email list to be able to keep this show going, keep this community going. So check out all the links in the description. And if you're listening to audio, make sure you know that we are also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Eastern. So check us out here on our live streams if you haven't already. So again, my name is Max McGuire.
This is Joe Otto.
And remember that the fight to take back our country clearly isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand and fight together.